seconds that is like.
Move this just slurp it down, Tim.
The Carter 4.
Mr. Carter.
66 degrees. Hopefully it gets cold enough in here.
Like Carter 3
Right now, though.
was.
I don't think this should turn black. I have it set on like several hours, so. Yeah,
Okay.
for here they are.
We'll see what happens. It will or it won't. It will. It won't. It will. It won't. Are you okay with the worst case scenario? And the screen going black?
Well,
I
it's
am.
the
That is the worst case scenario.
Stoicism philosophy, premeditatio malorum. You got to expect
No idea
the
the
worst.
words you just said. I don't speak French.
You always got to assume that you're going to run into somebody stupid. You always got to expect the most wildest possible thing. That way you're always prepared. The worst thing a general can say is, I wasn't prepared for this.
General.
Yeah.
I think we're ready.
You're the general of your own day.
You're the general, Tim. Sure. Yeah, we're good. Okay. I thought it was logged on. But there were like, dude, it was weird when I was scheduling this one. There were like 3 different Zoom meetings. So I wonder if he says he's in the waiting room and we don't see him, then I'll just send him a link to this one.
Okay.
Because they were like, I don't know. It wouldn't, when I went in Zoom, created it, usually it goes straight to our Gmail, opens up the scheduler, and I just send it. But it was trying to go in one of my other Gmails, like
that's what it does for me.
Other business. So then I realized my Google Chrome, like the profile was set on my other one. So it was automatically loading to the business and not the podcast.
Yeah.
So I had to like log out of all the accounts and use like our RLE.
Gotcha. Yeah. If I ever schedule through Zoom, it defaults, and when it opens up the counter, it always opens up my personal one. So I have to like click on the top right and go to ours, and then that's when it shows up.
Yeah. All right. So he got a different link. That's okay.
Yeah, I want to know like what types of businesses will be using this the most. Like 3D printing, like
Yeah.
when 3D printing companies, but like what are they printing? Like what, like I wonder if he has insights as to that, is like what his customers will be printing with the software, where that sector, where that is.
Imagine a medical device company.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like medical, like I want to know like what
disrupt the largest industries possible.
Because that's like, I really want to figure out like if there's anybody I ever run into, if I could send them to him, like what's his ideal client? What's his ideal business that can make him the most money?
Yeah.
because that's cool how it integrates with like Shopify, uh, like eBay, like people that are selling 3D products on these platforms. I'm like, what are they selling?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. Gonna get into some shit. What up, dude?
What's up, guys?
What's
How
up,
are you?
Carter?
Good, man. How you
Good.
been?
Pretty good. Pretty
Good,
good.
good. This is my buddy
Sorry.
Tim. We've been podcasting the last 5 years on the show. So
How you doing, Carter?
yeah.
How are you, man? I'm doing
Good, good.
good. It's an impressive track record that you guys have been podcasting for 5 years. Like, that's badass.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. Like we don't really think about the time. It's just, oh, we podcast this week. We have another interview this week. Oh, we're releasing on Friday. You know, it's just like routine. Before you know it, we're 5 years in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry
Yeah.
the last time didn't work out.
Oh,
It's all good.
dude,
But
it
I'm glad we
happens.
got it done for this one. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time for sure. I was reading up on your website and yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation. It's awesome.
sweet, man. Yeah, so am I. This is actually my first podcast.
Oh,
So,
Really?
really?
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Damn, dude, all the people
Um,
you know, I'm surprised it's your first podcast.
I know. I just never I don't know. I just never hopped on the opportunity to do it, but I felt like this was a good one to start with. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, happy to have it. You think you'll start your own show at some point? Like your own podcast or
I mean, I really do. I think I enjoy like talking with people and just understanding why they like stuff in
Mhm.
general. I'm like pretty people oriented person, so I think I would like to just sit down and chop it up with people and figure
Yeah.
out like what motivates them and what they're passionate about. And just learn about that. I really do not care what you're into as long as it's like I can sense that you're passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that would be like a good prerequisite for being a good podcaster, right?
Yeah.
100%.
And then just naturally, like, I don't know, if I'm out at the gym or really anywhere, if I find somebody interesting, I'm going to want to ask more questions. So maybe in the future. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's kind of a good reason to like just meet new interesting people. So
Yeah.
100%.
um
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how we see it too. And like we've brought in so many different perspectives, different backgrounds. We've been doing this for almost 4 years, right? It feels like we've five. We
Yeah.
feels like we've gotten our own education and like gone to college and ourselves just because we've learned from so many people. And
Mhm.
there's so many conversations we have on a daily basis, whether it's like with ourselves or other people where we wish we could like document it. So it's nice to just have this
Yeah.
here and it's never going away. So we can always go back and listen to it. So.
Yeah, it makes us
Yeah.
understand why people have a videographer like 24/7 because
Hmm.
there's so many good things that happen in like a simple conversation at a breakfast,
Yeah.
but it's cool the access that we get to certain people because it's asking to be on a radio show and not like, oh, can I just pick your brain for 15 minutes? Like most people like
Exactly.
aren't going to give that time, but hey, can we podcast for an hour? Oh, sure. So we've talked to sous chefs in the UK that are on mega yachts, that have cooked for like P. Diddy. We've talked to American Idol contestants, rappers, I mean, speakers, authors. So it's cool, man. Our tagline is naturally curious, and we're just interested in what people
That's
do and what they like to do.
that's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Is
So
there anything that for the purpose of today's conversation, I know like we sent like a general list of questions and I figure our conversation will be natural and will flow, but is there anything that's like especially important to you today that you'd want to cover or anything that like you want to get out of this today?
no, man, I just want to have a
Cool.
good time. So
All right.
Awesome. Hell yeah. I love that. Let's go.
yeah.
Pulls up a bottle of bourbon.
Yeah.
Well, in that case,
Actually, wait, fuck it. We have this bottle of Kraken right here.
Oh wow, dude! I haven't had Kraken since college.
My friend has a bottle of Kraken over his desk. Oh, here's the office space. If you guys want to see it, we just moved in. It's
Yeah,
really
I've seen
messy
you
right now,
post
but
about it.
oh wow.
That's sick.
this is like our like modest 3D print farm, and we got like storage and stuff all over here. But it's
Yeah,
actually like an apartment in the back. So
Yeah.
that's
three of
cool.
us live here up in the back, and then our kind of like workshop areas right here.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so cool.
We'll have
I
a
love
couple
that.
lasers over there soon, probably next week, and then this has been kind of cool. This is a recent addition. We got a saltwater fish tank, which is so
Oh,
stupid.
damn, dude. That
So
is
cool.
They
sweet.
they are really hard to take care of. So
I believe it, man. Anything
there's like a
saltwater is just problematic.
dude, it's the soup of life, you know?
Yeah.
You
That's
fi-
awesome.
you figure that out whenever you're at the the fish store and you're like, what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
This what's an ectoparasite? Um, and then
Yeah,
you
I couldn't
start
tell
learning
you.
about you learn a lot about biology really quickly. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have fish
yeah.
when I was younger, but it started because I won one at like the county fair. You know, the one that you never win is goldfish in a bag. And it
Yeah,
lasted like 2 weeks. And then I wanted fish and used my dad's old tank and had a bunch of fish for a couple of years. But it's a lot of work.
it is. It is. It is. I think my first that was probably a beta fish, right? The one that you won.
It was a little
It's probably
goldfish.
little goldfish.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, my first fish that I ever had, I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh, and I
Oh, dude,
called it
same.
Wing Dragon of Ra. That was my that was my
Dude,
first
I'm with
fish's
you.
name,
I'm
and it
tracking
died.
with you.
It died like I was so sad when it died. I was like, oh my
Oh
god,
man.
this is my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh character, and it's
Yeah.
gone.
Emotional
Man.
connection. Oh,
Yeah.
I know,
man.
to a beta
Yeah.
fish. Like,
Yeah.
So do you have
Hey.
a saltwater fish close to a Yu-Gi-Oh character that you're gonna add?
oh man,
Like any blue eyes, white something?
dude, yeah, I know, right? We actually just got this one fish. It's gonna be too hard to like get it on camera on my
Yeah,
computer, but it's like all striped and stuff, and it has like these big fans that come out, like whenever
that's
you touch
cool.
the glass, and its eyes perfectly line up with the stripes on its body. So
Mm.
imagine if tiger stripe, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I could send you the species after this, but it looks really cool.
Yeah,
It's like
sweet.
eyes are camouflaged into its body. It's pretty sweet.
Love
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, it's a cool space you got there, man. I've seen you post about it on Instagram and stuff, and it looks like a hustler's paradise. Like you three are
Yeah.
getting after it and living in a sweet pad, and you're in Austin, Texas, right?
Actually, we're really close to Austin. We're in San Antonio,
Oh, okay.
Mm,
so
Very
cool.
cool.
yeah,
Very cool.
close to downtown San Antonio. But we have like another office in Austin. So,
Wow.
but
Um,
those are like satellite offices. Those aren't like you know like
cool.
crazy. We went out and bought them type stuff. So.
So we always like to start, just obviously we're just chopping it up, but interested in, tell our audience who you are. Like we know kind of what you're getting into, but we'll get into everything, all your ventures you've done, your current business, but kind of how did we get here? Give a little background story. Yeah, who you are,
Mhm.
what you're doing, and how you got to where you are right now. And then yeah, we'll dive in
Sweet.
the weeds along the way.
All right. Well, I guess who I am. I am. I've always been interested in sports and computer stuff. So I'm really interested in the outdoors. I love camping, hiking. I love agriculture. All throughout my life, I've been really fascinated with numbers and markets. Like I remember distinctly in third grade, like my favorite teacher, she had her and her husband came over, and he told me that he traded money for more money, which means he was like a currency trader, right? Which
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of been diluted over the years because a lot of forex MLMs, but
Yeah.
like I think he was a legitimate currency trader.
Yeah.
And then that really, I was like, why does that exist? How can you do that? And I don't think that was like a epiphany type moment, but I thought that was really interesting. And whenever I reflect on it from this perspective, I feel like it was kind of changed with the way I see the world. But anyways, I've always been really interested in markets and how they work. And I guess my first online business was I've always done stuff in person, just building stuff, whether it's skate ramps or like taking like a paper clip and going to the local supermarket and trading it up to like a Yeti cup throughout the day. Like me
Oh,
and my
nice.
friends like just found that type of shit really fun. And then I guess yeah, so the first online business that I started was a Minecraft server with my best friend, and that kind of showed me the potential of just like channeling more energy into your passions, and then going one step beyond your peers, and you can create like a pretty crazy outcome. So like at 12 years old, me and my best friends, we had a pretty popular Minecraft server that was doing a few thousand a month in
Oh, wow.
revenue. And that was
Wow.
just from, seemingly wasting our lives placing bricks on a screen. So that was like, that was my first online business. And that kind of like, that really changed my perspective. Cause then, at that age, if you're 12 years old, and you're making more money than potentially a teacher, like
Mhm.
some teachers, like that definitely changes your perspective about like how you can, like what jobs are available to you and how
Mm-hmm.
you can like create value in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then yeah, going into college, I think the sphere of mentors I've had in my life have kind of always had like an agricultural theme. So my great both sides of my family, both great grandparents were farmers. Um, my grandpa on my mom's side, he was actually a moonshine runner. So
Oh, very cool.
his whole, I feel like I really identify with that. I feel like his energy is definitely in my soul because one, he was a moonshine runner, but the way that started out was he was a farmer, generational farmer. His father was a farmer, and 3 straight seasons he had, like, it was either a combination of bad weather or some kind of financing problem, but somehow he ended up losing the farm. Um, and in the interim between losing the farm and his future occupations, he picked up. This is during the what do you call this? Like
Prohibition.
prohibition. There you go. Duh. But yeah,
Happens,
during
man. You can make
prohibition,
up words on the show too. We make up shit all the time.
I definitely will. I definitely will. But yeah, during prohibition, since he was always interested in cars, and fixing up cars, and that was back in the day when cars were much more mechanical and not like this big pile of wires that they are today.
Mhm.
You almost have to be a programmer to mess with cars today. But anyways, he ended up fixing up cars, becoming a moonshine runner, went to prison for that, and then got out of prison for actually fixing up the local cop cars to run faster because
Oh, wow.
he, he had the fastest cars in the county. So he was the best candidate to be a
Yeah.
moonshine runner. And then that's how he got out of prison, was fixing up the cop cars. And then after that, he was a nitroglycerin truck driver, and they always had openings because the trucks would blow up.
Jeez.
And he did that for 10 years.
Good
And
God.
then he swept flour off the floor at a flour mill and was able to provide for his family of four. Um,
Wow.
and I think that one's really interesting. Like, first of all, that sounds like a shit job. Nope, not hating,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, it sounds like there could be better utilizations of his time and energy than
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
sweeping flour off the flour mill
Yeah.
floor. And it's my goal to provide for a family with that job. Like, it's pretty interesting to me that you could do that at any point
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah.
That's the important key out of that. Providing for
Yeah,
the family. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. He did what he had to do.
It's a strong man.
I bet he
exactly.
had to have fixed those cop cars just to like keep them 10 miles per hour below his other shine running friends. Like fix
Oh
them
my
just
God.
enough to keep him out of jail. But I got to give my friends a little leg up, but no one's gonna know. So Dukes
Literally.
of Hazard is based off your family. Got it. Um,
I think I can't remember the name of the Prohibition movie, but there's some movie that I watched that was like about a moonshine runner in the backwoods of Arkansas, and it's all about him fixing up
Lawless,
cars.
was
I
that
think
with
so.
Tom Hardy and Shia
I don't
LaBeouf? Because that's a
I don't
good one.
know.
Lawless is good. It gets brutal too.
I
That's a
it
good
could
one.
be. It could be. I'm horrible with
Yeah.
like naming movie characters and things like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've always, point is, I like farming, or like at least the farmer gene is in my ancestry and in my heritage. And I think, like, from an economics perspective, it's really, really interesting. Like, like farming kind of birthed philosophy, it birthed every industry. So like every emerging economy is based on a robust ag economy.
Mm.
So in any developing nation, the best way to stimulate their economy is to stimulate their agricultural sector first. Like, for example, like who was the richest guy in America like in the colonial times? It was actually a fur trader. So the number one beaver pelt guy, I can't remember, his name escapes me. But he had the number one fur trading company in America, and that made him the richest person in the world. And I think it was primarily beaver pelts. So the richest person in the world at some point in the 1800s was actually off of beaver pelts in America.
Jeez.
So it's like, you know, agriculture has always been this thing that, especially nowadays, people kind of sleep on. They just expect the food to be there. And I've always seen it from this different perspective, and I know how fragile it is, and I was just really confused at some of the ways that we allocate resources in America, and really everywhere. But I was just really interested in those problems and set out to study them in college. And then right out of college, I was really interested in media, business, technology in general. But I didn't really want to get like an ag policy job, because that literally sounds like bang, 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 click, reload, bang, 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 bang. Like, it sounds so horrible. I don't want to do policy shit for my life. And so I've always been a big fan of Gary Vee. I mean,
yeah,
some people think he's cringe, but I see through the weeds, and I'm like, I extract the wisdom, try to.
Yep.
And he's like, shoot your shot, get as close to he has this principle of getting as close to the sun as possible, and find somebody that you want to be like, right? And then package up you and like kind of present it to them and say, hey, this is how I can be of service to you, just so I can be around you and like what you're doing. So I started like doing that. I started messaging people on social media saying like, hey, like, my name's Carter. I have an economics degree from A&M. I'm really passionate about this. I can do all these types of things, research, whatever, data analysis. I can do these things for you. I just want to like be around you and learn from you. And probably like the 10th person that I did that to was actually Ryan McKeever, which I think you guys have had on this show.
Yeah. I was going to ask how you guys got linked up. So you just cold reached out to him.
Yeah. So I could actually,
that's so cool.
I could pull up the DM right now, but it was literally exactly what I just told you. Like, hey, my name's Carter. Here's my, like, I packaged myself up and presented it, and I was like, I'll work for free. Like, I'm just really interested in learning from you. I think like I want to kind of follow a similar life arc. And I've always felt that media was like a great way to meet people. It's a great filter for like industry leaders, as you guys with the podcast. And then moved out to Colorado. I was working on my own research project, working with Ryan, and then living in Colorado, I was able to find a lot of clarity about what's important to me. And I think I really solidified the fact that I am definitely going to start my own venture and do something like on my own, where I'm like the controller of my success. So
I love that so much, because I feel like most people, Carter, they have a skill or they have a unique thing about them that they can offer someone else for free. And like you said, like, seek out someone you look up to, who you want to be, and most likely that person, they're important enough or they're busy enough where like they could save time or save money in one way or another, and you can do that for them. And in return, they don't have to pay you. They can just give you knowledge that gives you the ability to start your own thing. So that's cool. When you linked up with Ryan, what did you do for him at first? What were some of the things that you were doing for him, but also some of the things you were learning from him that gave you the foundation?
So I've learned a lot from Ryan. He's really opened up, besides the stupid little YouTube videos I made as a kid, and like stuff like that. He really opened my eyes up to the entire media world and kind of showed me how it works. Like, he showed me what a shoot for Arc Digest looks like. I've watched a lot of Arc Digest videos, but I never seen, what it's like to actually do the
Sure.
production work,
Mhm.
or like what the deal flow looks like. Like how do you even get a job like that? From like my perspective, it seems impossible. Like,
Right.
um, so I've learned a lot from Ryan, how to use media as a form of like leverage, like how you can, like, where does media fit in society? And it turns out every industry needs media, and whether it's artificial intelligence podcast or the hemp happy hour podcast, right? Like they're both going to filter for like whatever the industry professionals are. So I've always been interested in media. I learned a lot about media, and how you can use it, um, from Ryan, and then just a lot of life stuff. Like I actually call Ryan my bro dad. So it's kind of an
Nice.
interesting relationship we have. So it's very much, I would say it's 60-40, 60% brother, 40% dad.
Got it.
So I've learned like a lot of life principles from Ryan. Um, he's like such a good guy. And I mean, he gave me the opportunity of a lifetime, and like gave me the ability, like he gave me space to think about stuff. And I think like college and like a lot of the way the world treats you is they force you to like define yourself. And
Mm.
it's totally okay to not know like what you are 100% good at or what you're 100% passionate about. And I think it's important that people like, get out in the real world and find experience, right? Like get experience, get something where you can unlock new opportunities, but it's okay to like just kind of be in a learning phase. And I
Mhm.
think that's what I was doing for like the past couple of years whenever I was working at Plotline. But you asked what did I do for Ryan? What I did for him was I did some research stuff. So anything that he needed researched, I'm good at like compiling information. Ryan would pretty much, he would be the prompt engineer for me. So
Okay.
he would he would set the prompt, and then I would run it and
Oh,
spit
cool.
out a shittier version of what ChatGPT could now. Um,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I do like research, data
Mhm.
analysis. Like if he had some new business that he was standing up, I'd build like a financial model about, oh, hey, like these are the types of numbers that we'd have to do to like break even and like
Hmm.
Mm.
make it worthwhile.
That's cool.
I helped fundraise for a couple of his like private films. So he has a documentary that's really interesting,
Mhm.
really juicy story, obviously. I
Yeah.
don't want to give too much of that away, but that's generally it. And then also like, since I have like a economics and finance background, I kind of taught him a little bit about like business speak and like finance, not business speak, but like finance terms and like
Yeah.
Sure.
things like that. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
And
yeah.
when you first reached out to him, did you just offer any and all help that he needed, or did you provide a specific, this is what I can do, this is what I'm good at, or was it more general, hey, whatever you need, I'll do.
Um,
I just want to be around the people.
Here, I'll read it right now. How about
There
that?
we
I
go.
love this.
Yeah, plotline stories. I'll show you. Okay, so look, you can see.
Okay. Instagram DMs. We're in
Yep.
now for the
Yeah,
people listening.
plotline media. Okay.
Huh?
So I said, howdy, you guys followed me on your Hemp Valley documentary page. As you can see by my bio, I recently graduated from A&M with a degree in economics. I would love to contribute to your story and discover ways we can work together. I'm very good at researching, data crunching, and writing compelling stories. And then I said, due to the disproportionate amount of value to be derived on my end, I would be willing to work for free and be of service wherever I can. And then he said, wow, thanks for the offer. I would love to chat. How does your week look? Thank you.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And that was, yeah, December 12th, 2020. So you can
Wow.
see
Yeah.
his chat there. But
Good for you, man.
yeah,
That's such a good message. Genuine
That's
message
awesome.
too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think the like for anybody that wants to like deploy that strategy, I think one, if you're gonna work for free, always do a pulse check and make sure like this is a good human being,
Mm.
and make sure that you trust your internal
Mm.
rubric for that. Like,
Hmm.
if you've been, because this is like your, it's important. It's an
Right.
important thing in your career. Think like, um, and I'll always be service first. Like you, like them reading your DM is their first act of service of giving to you. And I think a lot of people, like when they shoot that shot, they ask for something. They like, hey, can we jump on a call? Or like, can you review this or this, that, whatever. It's
Sure.
like, no, you got to shoot your shot there. And you're like, it's got to be service oriented and like value oriented, especially if you're on the come up. Like if you're a college kid and you're trying to like, you know, be around this amazing individual that you want to be more like, you got to be like value first. And I think that's the number one piece of advice that I give to people that like want to do a similar strategy in other fields. I think in media, it's much more malleable. So it's a little easier to like land those types of opportunities. And I think Ryan's a naturally open individual.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I just got lucky, but those people are out there. There's more Ryans out there. And, you know, I think Ryan for my story was, you know, really, really important. And again, I don't think that I would have started this company or helped start this company if it wasn't for my experience, like living on the farm close to the largest flat top mountain in the world for 2 years. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that that was going to happen. And there's actually, now that I think about it, there's so many like confirming moments along the way that like kind of showed me that I was in the right spot. So I don't know if you guys are spiritual or not, but I'm definitely pretty spiritual. And um, along the way, so I made the decision after talking with Ryan for months that I was going to move out to Colorado and live on his hemp farm, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Again,
God, that's so
not
awesome.
advisable for most people. Like working for free for 2 years for a random person you met online is not advisable. But
there are
it
flukes
worked.
in the game.
It worked out for me,
Yeah.
like really, really awesome. But as I was moving out there, there was a couple of really crazy events that just like it was the way that I mean, it's got to be a sign from God. Like I don't know, man. I don't know how else it would be possible, but so I don't know if I really touched on this, but I had an agricultural research project at the time that I moved out there while I was working on with Ryan on his media company. And pretty much what we were studying is like phytoremediation, so the ability for plants to like remove metals and salt from an environment. So I was like studying this one specific type of plant that takes like pretty much no inputs, like very little water and very little inputs, and can clean up land. And it would be like a really great biofuel feedstock. So I was studying that and running a research project with a group of like 10 individuals in Reno, Nevada, while I was working for Plotline. So it still had my agricultural, you know, focus. And whenever I moved out there, the day before I moved out to the farm, I was staying up on top of the Grand Mesa, which again is the largest flat top mountain in the world. And I was at this remote lodge. I was sitting there with my parents, and we were at this like little coffee shop, literally in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere, population 200 town. And it was a random day, middle of the week, 7 a.m. Didn't expect to see anybody, and there was like this little old elderly couple sitting in the corner, and just by the way we are, me and my family, we like if we're in a small room together, we're going to talk to you. We're going to talk to you.
Yeah. Love it.
So we started talking, and turns out the guy that went the male of the group, he ended up being the global managing director of like the largest ag bank in the world. And from a kid that had, you know, I went to the largest ag school in the world, and I was a big time ag nerd. Like one of my main mentors in college was like the secretary of, well, he was the chief economist under the Secretary of Agriculture, which is like the president of ag in the United States. And that was my guy. I couldn't have met anybody better for like that moment in my life. And the fact that I met him on the day that I was literally the morning of going to the farm, I met the global managing director of the largest ag bank in the world. that day, like before I moved out to the farm,
Mhm.
I found that to be really profound. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna keep listening to my heart. Like, this is crazy. I don't know, like, nothing really even came from that. I mean, he introduced me to like some really cool people, but that I've been looking up to my whole life. But that was like a really confirming moment that like, holy shit, like this is crazy. What are the odds? Like
Mhm.
this makes no sense. And
Yeah. And a 200-person town nonetheless.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And not even, it was the resort community close to the 200-person town. So it wasn't even in there like actual, it was the resort coffee shop. So it was,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
very small odds. And then we actually fast forward a year later, almost exactly 1 year later, um, I ended up meeting a really key investor that in our current company here, just sitting on a park bench at the Palisade Farmers Market. So I was just sitting there one morning enjoying my coffee like normal, and then some old guy comes up next to you and you're like, hey, what's up? I'm like, how are you? And we started chatting, and then boom, he introduces you to like a really big time investor, and they make a bunch of intros, and it changes the game for you. So
Oh man.
you
Mhm.
never know where it's going to come from, like where
Yeah.
your next
That's
catalyst.
fantastic. I need to go to more farmers markets. Uh,
Dude, yeah, exactly.
that's I love that story because it's just like you said, you don't know where it's going to come from,
Hmm.
but what's the saying, like luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Like you're working on the
Yes.
things you're passionate about, right? Like you're following what you want to do. You're not letting society mold you into what they think you should be, and you just stay true to the path. And
Hmm.
now things start to enter. Like the universe has offerings, and I think sometimes they're not always recognizable. Sometimes they are. It's like, oh, I have this investor. Okay, that's an offering from the universe. I need to take this. And now it's which path? Take it,
Right.
or no, I'll do it by myself. So
Hmm.
I think, yeah, dude, you were talking about spirituality. I think you definitely have those signs from God and the universe, and the energy you put out
Hmm.
is what you will get back. So dude, that's such a cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely, and you got to be open to it. And it all starts with just talking to people. Like,
Mhm.
Right.
again, the seed is the natural curiosity.
Yep.
Um,
I love that.
so
Yeah. We're all interconnected in some way. And I think even though like
yeah,
things like that seem like 1 in a million, one like crazy, I feel like, yeah, like you said, you increase your chances of meeting those interconnected people by having those conversations. So, and you met
yeah,
people who had the same, like in a sense, the same life mission as you in the same realm. So yeah, I love that. I love that for you.
Eh,
And the timing, man, the timing is even
Yeah,
crazier.
that
Yeah.
that is really the big kicker. Like, because I mean, I had a lot of negative reinforcement from
Mhm.
family and friends. Like, I'm concerned about you. This seems like a bad deal. Blah 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 blah. Like,
Mhm.
a lot of people that I respect were saying, this sounds like a bad deal. You're literally just gonna work for free.
Yeah.
And dude, I don't know. I just knew it was a one-on-one trade, man to man, me and Ryan. I'm like, I know I have a lot to learn. I think I made a pretty good value proposition, working for
Mhm.
free.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna waste your time, pretty much.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was that was the value to him. But a lot of people, both family and friends, close, like as close as it can get, um, all said, hey, this seems like a bad deal. But I was like, just have faith.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Too unique of an opportunity to pass up. And like what's the worst that can happen? Like things don't work out, and
You
I
go
mean
home.
you move on to your next opportunity.
Yeah.
exactly. And Colin, I really love what you had said, like the like luck equals opportunity plus preparation.
Mhm.
Like, I wanted to write like a essay or like a blog about this topic, because I think this is another thing. Like, so if we were to develop a blueprint for other people to do this in other domains, like, first, be value first, right? But also understand that like you can create opportunity. Like, luck can be engineered, right? So
Yeah.
people think that this is lucky, right? But you just broke down the equation for luck, which is opportunity plus preparation. Well, preparation, that's like, it's very clear. It's like all you got
Right.
to do is sit down and show up for yourself.
Yeah.
So that's easy. Everybody knows that you can do that. But like opportunities, those can be engineered too. Like you can go to farmers markets. You're like, okay, just conduct a simple thought exercise. You're like, what type of people do I want to meet? All
Mhm.
right. Well, I
Yep.
want to meet media executives. Maybe look up a media conference or media meetup or something like that. Like get on Eventbrite and find your people. Like, I don't know. It takes like a 5-minute brainstorm session and then just figure out what you're going to tell these people. Be value first. And like
Hmm.
the more shots that you take, like eventually, like I just always thought about 100 people are going to come to me and that is weird and never talk to me again. But then the 101st
Yeah.
person will be like, oh my God, yes, and change your life. And I don't know, man, just be, again, is you just got to be curious, value first, and
Yeah.
you can engineer luck. That's totally, totally possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
And
definitely.
So,
especially with, I feel like we're going to tie a lot back to media. If you can't afford to go to the biggest conference, you can follow that conference on social media, see who they follow, see who's following them, look for big names
right.
that you look up to, and start the cold reach out. And you own
Yes.
the fact that, hey, I know there is a disparity between value I can provide to you and you to me, but this
Hmm.
is why I'm going to offer free work. And so you
Yeah.
acknowledge that, because those people might not always say it. They might say, oh, thanks, I'm good. But free
Hmm.
help, and where you're moving yourself out there, putting stuff out on social media, posting, hashtags that those big people that you follow might use. So you can
Hmm.
start to be visible and comment. So if you can't, fly somewhere or be in a certain location, to your point, you can still engineer it other ways. Just think about how to access those people for 5-10 minutes. Start a podcast on a whim. Be like, hey, I have a radio show. Can I interview you? You have so
Hmm.
much more access with a radio show, like we were saying earlier, than
Yeah.
if it's, hey, can we have a 10-minute call? I'm interested in what you do.
Hmm.
9 times out
Yeah.
of 10, those people are going to, no, they're too
Because
busy.
that's extractive, it's like
Yeah. Like
taking
you said, the
value out
ask.
of there. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And if you're someone that you don't want to do a radio show, you can reach out to people and be like, hey, I'm writing a paper, or I'm working on a project where I'm
Exactly.
interviewing industry experts in this field. Would you care to contribute?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like
Exactly.
do anything.
I
Yeah.
think there is a big hesitation. It's a weird, it's like really weird how how hesitant some people are to do free work.
Mm.
Um, like I don't know what it is about our society that programs us to think that we can ask for a 6-figure salary at like 20 something. But I've always thought something else that helps on this whole like um, like entrepreneurship journey is thinking about your weight, like like your wealth creation in terms of deferred wages. So I've always thought like, okay, I think I can make 2 million bucks sometime in the next 16 years. And if you do the math on that, it's I'm pretty sure it's like $2,500 a week is what that ends up
Okay.
coming out to, which is that's a pretty good salary if you ask me. It seems like pretty
Yeah.
livable.
Yeah.
2,500 a week. So it's like, all right, all I gotta do is make 2 million bucks anytime in the next 16 years, and I'm good to go. And
Yeah. Right.
that's my perspective. And it's like if I'm just eating shit, making 20K for 15 of those years, I just know and have confidence that I will show up, that I will be prepared, I will create opportunities. Those opportunities will grow, and it will generate that. And I'm definitely not a like I don't have like a fixed money goal as my pursuit. It's more of a I definitely really value autonomy and freedom within my life, and
Hmm.
I really just I fear the what would be really terrifying to me is if I'm 40 and I'm like 50, 50, like towards the end of my career, and I'm like I could get this next level up, like this job that makes my life a hell of a lot easier and pays me way more, and then some middle manager just stops me from getting that, or like
Yeah.
some manager stops me from that. if I fail, this is something that's just important to me. If I fail, I want it to be my fault.
Yep.
100% my fault. I do not want to be like hating some boss that, put a brick in the road in front of me. So
Yeah.
I think that's really important to me. And yeah, I've always had a long-term perspective. So
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like
But,
this guy.
yeah. I knew you would.
You said that you like Gary Vee. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can tell that you listen to him and because you guys have a lot of the same. Because I listen to him too. So yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. Like the more we realize that like time is far more valuable than money too. Like
Hmm.
the money will come if you're of a service to others. If you
Mhm.
provide a service to others, like the money will come. But yeah, no,
Exactly.
yeah, the autonomy and freedom. I like that you touched on that. So
That's it, man. That's life. That's,
mhm.
I don't know. And you're in kind of starting get into like how PrintNet started. And whenever I first met Caleb, our CEO, and co-founder, one of the co-founders, um, we first met at this presentation with this guy that owns this energy fund at A&M, and he's like one of those like really brutal like Silicon Valley guys, really brutal. Like, okay, we get it. It's hard out there.
It's hard out there.
You're like, chill, bro, chill.
Yeah.
But anyways, like he started off the clicker. He like opened up the presentation. It's like four people in there, like four college kids. And
Yeah.
he goes like, all right, you have two choices in the world. And I'm like, oh God, okay. And he goes like, you're either building your dreams or somebody else's. And I was like, yo, low key, that's pretty like that's
Yeah.
kind of true. You either are
Yes.
building your dreams or somebody else's.
Silicon Valley's off to a good start.
Yeah. But building other people's dreams is not, it's okay to build other people's dreams. Like, and oftentimes that's something that I learned is like that's okay to like join up. I've always felt that like I was gonna be the one to start it or whatever growing up. And I wasn't the one to like I was one of the co-founders of this company. So like this particular venture I helped start. But I actually joined Caleb and his existing company before. So I kind of had to like that was another area of growth that I was like, I thought that I would be the one to start something, but it's totally okay to join if you find somebody else, you see somebody else's dream that they've already started building, and you find like that this aligns with what you want to do with your life. It's totally okay to help build other people's dreams.
Yeah.
I just always felt that I was supposed to be there early and kind of be there in the clusterfuck stage,
Sure.
when
Yeah.
it's like amorphous, like an amorphous blob. And sorry, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that on your
No, dude,
podcast,
anything goes on our show, dude. You can say whatever you want.
but hey, that's
Yeah.
real. That's what it is, though. That is the
Yeah.
stage. Like when it's just this, you're shaping it, and your company is like a Excel spreadsheet and a pitch deck, right? And it's much more than that now. But yeah, I've always felt that I have a lot of dreams, and that there's definitely no shortage of curiosity or dreams. There are things that I would want to
Yeah.
pursue in the world. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
It's
like not an
cool.
option for me.
Cool. You've always felt like you should be at the groundbreaking level,
Mhm.
but you can co-found in things. And I think, I get wrapped up in it too. Like it's okay to be a really good number two, a really good number
Yeah.
three. Not everyone is wired to be the starter of everything. Some people just aren't wired for it.
Yeah. And if you close yourself off to like not being like I'm going to be number one, then you could be closing yourself like what if that like being a really great number four, right, within an organization was your stepping stone to start,
Yeah.
your number one, like the one venture that where you are the number one.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters like, like your hierarchy within your status within a hierarchy or organization. It doesn't matter. It's like, do people love you? Do they respect you? Do they like spending time with you? Like as long as those things and you can pay the bills and live the life that you want, like who cares what
Yeah.
position you were within the
Yeah.
organization.
Right.
But yeah.
So you go through the pitch. You were talking about the start of PrintNet. You have the pitch, and then from there, after Excel sheets and pitch decks, how did it really start to kind of come together where you guys had this idea of, hey, we can disrupt this industry and niche? Take us through that, how it really started to form and get some legs.
Okay, so whenever I joined Caleb, he was working on a company. So I guess background on Caleb, one of the co-founders. We had 3 co-founders, including myself, me, Caleb, and Dale.
Cool.
Dale is our resident mentor and beard guy. So he's 43, and he was the director of technology here at the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology. We actually stole him from that museum, so that's kind of
Nice.
a proud moment.
Yeah, that's a pretty good asset to have. Good, a nice balanced team. Sounds like
they actually have one of the first camera phones, like the first camera phone, at that museum. And the guy, cool. David Monroe, the guy that invented the camera phone, and the laser color printer, he's actually the chairman of that museum. So
oh wow,
he's like an advisor.
Now.
Yeah, dude, you guys should, if you want, we could definitely go to this museum. Dale is badass. He set up a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
Dale's San Antonio legend, but anyways, Caleb, he has, he's very rare human being. He's actually 20 years old right now at this moment in time. So that's pretty crazy. But at 14, he started this company called Float Me, or co-founded this company called Float Me. And I guess long story short, and he played a significant role. He designed their whole app and like recruited their technical team, or helped recruit technical talent, all at 14, 15, 16. And fast forward to 5 years later, they're an 80-person company and they're worth north of $100 million. So that just based on their last financing round. So at 14, he started this company. And I don't want to spoil his story because I mean, you guys could probably have him on the podcast too, but it was another really interesting series of events. But I think it's fine. I'll tell it because it's really cool, and I want to say it, and it's definitely worth restating because he'll say it better when he comes on. But the way it started was he was 14, living the high school life, right? And he had this big crush on a girl, and he asked her out to homecoming, and she said no. She said no, bro. She said no, and
ice cold. Dude,
so
that's just like ice switch from wherever you come from.
Literally, it's like, come on. Anyways, so she said no, and because she said no, Caleb's like, fuck, well, I don't have anything to do this weekend. So he went to startup weekend, and he ended up meeting his co-founders there, and that's where they birthed the idea for Float Me. That's now this company that has millions of monthly paying users. They're like top 50 finance app in the App Store, and you're at 14 years old. This kid's only been building apps for like 2 years at that point, which I mean, building apps at 12 is crazy, but it's pretty crazy what you can do if you're just open and you go to the events. Like if there's a startup meetup, go to it, participate in the workshop. Like normal people are capable of incredible things if you have enough drive, and if you're prepared enough when the opportunity presents itself. Like opportunities are pretty diverse. Like you can be there if you're like, people market themselves. Like there's meetups, there's things like you'd be blown away. Like if you literally just get on Eventbrite, look at like filter for the events that you want to go to, go to them, meet people and tell them who you are, and things will happen. So
if people start to know, like, and trust you, it just all the doors open.
Right. And what's a great way to build trust? Work for free. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
Uber on the side to like enable that. But anyways, I digressed. I got into Caleb and Dale, but anyways, we're the 3 co-founders of this company. Whenever I joined Caleb, it was just him and one other guy, and they were actually working on this education technology company, and they were doing like project-based learning tools. So it was kind of like KiwiCo or some of the other project-based. Mark Rober has a thing now where you like you like sign up for a subscription box and he sends you like a curated project every month. So it's like
Oh,
a
cool.
RC car, build your own RC car, or like robotic arm that you do something with, or like an Arduino board that you like make light up. Like it's a series of
Yeah.
electronic components that you make light up. So we're like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this. And then we're like, oh, okay, all these products suck because we're gonna have to like buy a lot of inventory, way ahead of time, and then have all this overhead, try and sell like 3,000 RC car kits.
Yeah.
So we're like, shoot, we need something that we can kind of like bootstrap off of, or like do something like on demand, like manufactured on demand. And the thing we chose here, I'll actually grab it really quick, or one of them. The thing we chose was actually 3D printed model rockets.
Oh,
So
that's
this is
sweet.
like one of our model rockets that we designed. This flies like 500 feet.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's actually a reusable model rocket. It's like $5 worth of material here.
Wow.
And because of 3D printing, each unit can be completely different and have like, I don't know if you can see, but it says to
Oh,
infinity
yeah.
and
Yeah.
beyond
That's
on there.
awesome.
But each rocket can have different words on it, different colors. Each
Mhm.
one can be completely different, and it doesn't change our production process whatsoever.
That's
Yeah.
So each individual order can be different as long as you have that, online format where people can like customize it easily. Each order can be different because we're using 3D printing. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we started with 3D printed model rockets, and we're like, okay, we're gonna do model rockets because it's an iconic learning tool, right? Everybody knows about model rockets.
Yep.
Everybody knows model rockets suck. They're literally like Estes rockets are glorified paper towel holders, and they're not reusable. And these are like reusable model rockets, right? Like
Yeah.
the SpaceX thing, reusable orbital rocketry. How about reusable model rockets? Because the little fuselage twists out and it was replaceable. So we started with that, and then we partnered up with like some aerospace companies to provide the curriculum or help with the curriculum. And in pursuit of our model rocket empire, we were like, oh my God, it'd be so cool. Like as soon as somebody goes on our website and buys the rocket, they like we wanted the Nike ID of model rockets, right? Like you go on and you're like, you see that you pick your style of rocket and you like do all the colors, and then you put your like whatever words you want on it or symbols. And then as soon as they click order, what we really wanted to happen, we wanted a software application that would automatically, they would see that and distribute it across our farm, right?
Hmm.
So it would take the order, the 3-part order, right? Like the boom, boom, boom,
Yep.
and print it on 3 different printers that had those materials that we needed ready to go.
Mhm.
And we couldn't find that. So we couldn't find a software that, could integrate with our sales channels. And I mean, that's like lower priority, but like we couldn't find something that could manage our farm, let alone something that did like cool stuff like that, like print as soon as an order is placed.
Yeah. So you just wanted it to
Um,
be able to talk to each other. Like once they hit order, the machines start turning it out.
right. So that's one of the things, the main thing that we wanted, I guess the bigger thing, that's one really cool feature that like really excites me is like, damn,
Mhm.
as soon as it's ordered, it starts printing. Like
Yeah.
that user flow is just exciting to me personally. But more generally, what we needed was a way to control and manage our farm of 3D printers, which we just
Mhm.
didn't
Okay.
have.
Okay.
Because right then we were like managing an Excel sheet, and like we had files on an SD card, right? So all of our 3D models on an SD card. So every time somebody ordered, we'd be like, oh, order came in, throw that in the Excel sheet, right? And then
Hmm.
take that and you're like, oh, what do we need to print? We need to print one of these, okay. And then we walk the SD card over the printer, plug it in, do all the things, and then
Yeah.
start to print.
Yeah. Too much
Um,
labor.
yeah, exactly. So what we wanted is a production workflow product that would help us, see, remotely view and control our printers, but also put them into a dashboard, understand like what our farm is doing, like get some analytics, have some predictive maintenance. I would love to automate our supply chain. Like when our software knows that we're about to run out of this material, like I wanted to order it, like, or when you know, hey, I've been running this machine for 200 hours, and like this particular part has a mean time between failure of 200 hours. Like, it's probably time to order that part.
Yep.
But most people, if you're not tracking it through a software application, then you're just going to wait until your machine breaks. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit, oh, that part, because it has, you know, it's been 200 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started building that. We started building our own in-house version that, you know, was just very simple, helped with the scheduling bit and the remote view and control. And then since we had already had some investors at that time, they heard about that application that we're building, and they said, hey, stop doing this mono-rocket stuff and just focus on the software. And then that's how it started.
Okay. So that's
So
what PrintNet primarily does, is the software, like communicating between the machines and managing.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly. So
Okay.
yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. What we do is we make them easier, 3D printers easier to use, and then we're really good at connecting them.
Okay.
And generally, I, I more recently the way I've been describing it is like big picture, zooming all the way out. Like fundamentally, what we're doing, the future that excites all of us, is the future where we like produce our technology locally, or whatever things that we're consuming, we're producing them locally, whether it's food or consumable products or technology. Like, the future that really excites me is, you know, like all like, you know, not everything for a phone is going to be made locally, but most of it could be in the future. Whereas like right now it's made by a slave in China,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is totally not okay. Yet we all buy it.
Right.
But the future that excites me is when we start manufacturing the things that we consume more locally. And fundamentally, what we're doing is building tools for distributed manufacturing,
Mhm.
and kind of narrowing in what our software does is we want to control we want to be the production workflow platform for computer controlled fabrication. So it's actually more than just 3D printers. It's laser machines, CNC machines, things like that. They all use the same Marlin G code for machine instructions. So um, we're really just a production workflow product for computer controlled manufacturing. But
Okay.
we're starting with 3D printing because it's the most accessible and diverse. So like Amazon, they're like, oh my gosh, selling stuff online is going to be really big. What's the first product I start with? And you're like, oh my God, you should start with teddy bears. There's a lot of teddy bears in the world. But like, the best product to start with is actually books. That's why, because it's the
Oh,
most
that's how it started.
differentiated.
Yeah.
So it's the most accessible. Books are really cheap, and there's a lot more books than there is music. There's a lot more music than there are teddy bears, like things like that. So the reason they start with books is because it's the most diverse, and there's the most consumers out there for that type of product. And the reason we're starting with 3D printing is because we feel that it's, you know, compared to a laser machine, it's more of a platform technology than a laser. So you can't, what's cool about a 3D printer is that you could actually 3D print most of the components for another 3D printer on a 3D printer. Whereas on a laser, you can't laser the components for another laser. I mean, sure,
Yeah.
some of the components, but not most, like a 3D
Right.
printer.
Yeah.
And a $300 laser is a piece of shit right now. Like, a $300 laser is trash, but a $300 3D printer, now you can do stuff with that. Like, there's a
Okay.
lot of things that you can do, and with the design freedom with 3D printing, you know, the possibilities are endless. So
Yeah. That's so awesome.
um,
It is super
yes,
fascinating, like how you can print something 3D and then it's a usable product. Like
right,
you can
it's
create
done.
the things for another printer and it can print more stuff. And
Yep.
I'm sure there's some people listening too. Maybe bridge that gap for me of how can you just print something and you can use it inside something tech. You can, I don't know if you can create food yet with like edible food with 3D printing yet, but how does it work where you can create such goods that you can produce other things and you can actually use them without all the intricate back end of someone wiring things, putting things together, you know, bridge that gap for me.
So I think most right now, so the key areas for innovation in 3D printing, there's like four key areas. There's the material science, right? So like the material selection admittedly is kind of limited compared to traditional manufacturing.
Mm.
There's the hardware, so like the actual, like machine itself. There's how easy they are to use, and then the connectivity. We're not focused on the materials or the hardware. We're focused on making them much easier to use in the connectivity. So that's kind of what we're focused on. But I guess in terms of like creating these products, um, like end use products. Yeah. Well, can you reiterate your question one more time? Like what was
Yeah.
the
So like you were saying, you can print at a certain point. You want to be able to print local goods. Like, so build a smartphone with goods used primarily from a US 3D printer.
Mhm.
How does that work where you can print something like that and it can be used in a technological setting, or you can print things to be used in another 3D printer?
So
Or
how does
just
that work?
for someone who's never heard of 3D printing before, like who's like, hey, how do you create something from a 3D printer? Can you just explain the overall
I guess
process
that's a
of how
better
you
way.
take it from beginning to a product, just for someone who's never heard of it? Like, how does this
better way
work?
to ask it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Sorry for my
But
No,
that
dude, you're
makes
good.
slow
makes
this
sense.
morning.
That makes sense what you're saying about your business focusing on the connectivity and like the ease of use part. But yeah, but you
Okay.
said there's like a materials component too. Yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of explaining like how all four are interconnected for someone who's never heard of 3D printing.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. So say you have, so there's a variety of ways that you can do it, but the thing that you need to create is you need to create a 3D model, right? So a 3D model, not just like a visual asset that you see in movies, but like something that's 3D printable. So it has to be a certain type of file type. So
Mhm.
pretty much like the machine has to know if you submit like a graphic, the machine isn't going to know like the exact XYZ coordinates to follow to manifest that object. So you need the right 3D model type. You can either create that like by just assembling a bunch of shapes in a platform like Blender, or you could take a 3D scanner and scan an existing object, and then clean up the object, and then put it into your printer. But pretty much you start with a 3D model. You go to this thing called a slicer, which is that's how you generate the machine instructions. It generates something called G code,
Mhm.
Marlin G code. That's what all these different types of computer controlled manufacturing runs on. So then you generate the G code, and then what you do is typically you take that G code file, you put it on to a SIM card, you put it into your 3D printer, you select from the 3D printer menu, like, oh, I want this file, and then you hit print.
Mhm.
So what's something that's interesting about the 3D printing process is like the actual fabrication is the smallest part. So, well, it's one of the smaller parts, but the design and the planning and doing all the little, oh, I gotta slice it, I gotta take it over here, I gotta do all this stuff. A lot of that stuff is and especially the modeling is really what takes the longest part. But typically it starts with a model that you either created, purchased, or scanned. And then you slice it to generate the machine instructions, and then you give the machine instructions to the printer, either
Mhm.
physically or through our application, which allows you to do it digitally.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes
Sweet.
sense.
but
Okay.
yeah, that's the typical workflow. And then, um, yeah, there's all sorts of really cool opportunities, I feel, within 3D printing. So,
Yeah, for sure.
there's a few industries that maybe we could talk about that I
Yeah.
think might
Yeah.
be.
We'll go where you go. I think it's, someone could start a huge e-com business and just 3D print everything, and they just make materials on demand.
Yeah.
That's one thing
Right.
I was thinking of. If someone has a 3D printer, you can just model something that's a hot ticket item and
Mhm.
just recreate it. And you don't have to worry about tons of inventory. You'll have materials, but you're going to print stuff anyway.
Mhm.
Right. But
But
those materials are diverse. They could be used for other things, right? So it's
sure.
like they're not stamped out. It's like stamped out into the shape of an egg. Like plastic in the shape of an egg is useless, but plastic in a spool that could be printed for any shape is
Yeah.
much more useful than something that's already been stamped out. And that's the whole thing, is like, you think drop shipping right now is badass. Imagine drop shipping without inventory. Like
Right.
that's,
Yeah.
that's the future that we're trying to build towards. So,
Mhm.
well, or that's one of the interesting things that we could help enable, right? So like, kind of going back to like what our company is, what we do is we make software tools that help you automate manufacturing. But the other side of our business is we're going to save these manufacturers using 3D printing and computer controlled machines time and money. And then with that saved time, we're creating a distributed manufacturing network. So once we save you time in your production, you're going to have all this excess, production liquidity. You'll be able to dedicate that to our distributed network of manufacturers. So that's kind of like the big picture of what we're building, is we want to build a distributed manufacturing network, utilizing unused machine time. So very similar to how cloud computing came about, right? Like servers, like one, you used to have to like if you wanted to buy some software application, you had to go buy a bunch of computers and host them locally, and you had like your own, like a server room, like fill up an entire piece of real estate with a computer.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then they would sit dormant at night, so they'd literally power them off, and they'd be sitting there unutilized during the evening.
Mhm.
And then people are like, what, people could be using these at night, like what, why are we not time slicing server space? So we're time slicing machine space.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, so the big thing that we're building is a distributed manufacturing network. And one of the things that you could do with that is you could have like a commercial file library, right? So you could have like all these designs that, like all these different like commercial licensed designs. And then these e-commerce sellers that are really great at building brands and setting up all those processes, they can start creating brands around these individual products, like these white labelable products, and start creating unique brands around these cool products. And then again, they don't even with our platform, they wouldn't even have to own the 3D printers. So
Mm.
it's even a step removed. They could actually, license the commercial file, like get the commercial license, start selling them on their own channels, and then not even have to worry about manufacturing or producing them.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
so what we're focused on building is the thing that enables that is the network of manufacturers. And then
Mhm.
one of the core assumptions that we have with our business is we feel that you have to build that network of manufacturers. You have to be tied in to their scheduling and the coordination, right? So
Mhm.
since we're actually controlling these manufacturers' schedules for 3D printers and computer controlled manufacturing, we feel that we're the best suited to solve that coordination problem and actually be able to
Yeah.
do that real time. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's fascinating.
For your software, in addition to the manufacturing part of it, can you tell me more about how it helps businesses with like the sales and the finance and like the back end, like seeing just kind of the financial aspect of it too, in addition to manufacturing, just like organizing your orders, your sales, and does it integrate with like different websites or selling or e-commerce sites, or how does that part of it work apart from the manufacturing?
we definitely want um, to integrate with different as many sales channels as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
Shopify, we want, as soon as somebody orders on Shopify, we want it to print. As soon as somebody orders on Etsy, print. Wix, whatever. Amazon, you could do Amazon as well. We want to definitely integrate with all these different sales channels. And business insights are, with our platform, we definitely want to give you business insights, but it's not our core focus. Mostly we want to focus on production
Mm-hmm.
insights. But
Perfect.
there is definitely, with production insights, you end up, that is a business insight, right? So
Yeah, it's
Mm.
cost.
and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So if you get And with 3D printing businesses, whether it's quoting or keeping track of all your expenses like real time, or like all the time, there's a lot of variables, right? Maybe, like, kilowatt per hour rates for like electricity. Like, you've replaced a certain part all the time, all these things. So we just want to give people really granular insights into their production.
Yeah.
And then some kind of the, marketing insights, for example, you wouldn't find those on our
Okay. Gotcha.
on our platform, but you would see, oh, hey, like you've been using a lot of this color, this type of material in red,
Mm-hmm.
you know, based on other manufacturers, this would probably be a better utilization, or you've been buying this in a small quantity, you should probably buy this in bulk. Like
Mm-hmm.
what I envision our software turning into is like your production manager
Yeah.
or assistant. And it's
Gotcha.
just constantly prompting you. It's like, oh, hey, you've gotten a lot of this type of job and you've been doing it on this type of machinery. Um, this type of machine would save you 12% more time every month. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
some
Valuable.
kind of like AI production assistant, right? That's kind of
Uh-huh.
like if you had to personify our software, that's
Yeah.
what I would say it
That's
is. So.
fantastic. And when you can quantify like that too, it makes buying decisions so much easier.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
what manufacturer doesn't want 12% increase in efficiency? Just
Exactly.
Kaizen all day. Like
hmm
bust their brains with Kaizen.
And what's crazy about manufacturing in America is it's actually pretty distributed. Like it's not nearly as centralized as you think it is. Like uh there's almost as many manufacturing businesses in America as there are restaurants in America.
Mm.
Wow. Okay.
So there's 640,000, you can look this up, but it's like 640,000 restaurants and like 600,000 manufacturing
Jeez.
businesses.
Mm.
So I found that to be really, really crazy, and it did not seem right at all. But it's totally true. There's almost 600,000
Wow.
manufacturing businesses in America, and I thought that was pretty insane. And like 3D printing, it's only a $20 billion industry right now. It's going to grow dramatically over the next few decades, but it won't be all of manufacturing, obviously, but it'll be, you know, at least the very prototyping part, the first, like whether you're doing the first test print for this part that you're about to machine out of metal, like 3D printing will touch some part of every product's journey.
Yeah.
Um, just in some products, it won't be it. In some products, it'll be like the end use part because literally that product wasn't even possible to create before 3D printing. But
Mm.
for some parts, like machined little jigs or whatever, like machine parts, traditional manufacturing might be better. But one of the interesting examples of like 3D printing as a platform technology where it's enabling this whole new startup is, I can't remember the name of the startup, but they do like 3D printed knee replacements.
Oh wow.
And I've also seen like, um, so like there's like this one, I think they do like brain plates or like tight. So I think they used to do like titanium skull implants, and it was just like a little sheet that they kind of like roughly mold around your head.
Yeah.
And now what they can do is like scan your head and then print this gyroid infill structure that is like, it's kind of like this, except it's like all looped. I don't know if you can see that,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but it's like all looped together, like this really complex geometry. And then that they can put that on your head. And not only is it much better fit, like it's actually form fit to your head, but it allows the bone to grow up through the plate and it
Oh.
becomes a part of the thing. And now it's like,
Wow.
and that it doesn't result, it's a much better product. It's actually cheaper. And it's like, it's a part of your body now.
Yeah.
So
More accepted. Wow.
so medical is really interesting, whether it's prosthetic limbs, and making those accessible. I think like the average prosthetic arm is like $50,000, 40,000, $30,000 to $50,000. And you could 3D print a prosthetic limb. Like that's the type of shit that like we're gonna produce locally. That really excites me. Like the kid in Africa that doesn't have access to like, he doesn't have a hand, but he could 3D
Yeah.
print something that like works better than having no hand. Like,
Right.
what if that kid was really, really productive? Like saving him 13% of his time is really valuable.
Yeah.
And or like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen what is it? What is the movie? It's about Malawi, Africa. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind.
Not
That's
seen.
that's such an inspiring movie to me, but kind of gonna spoil it. It doesn't spoil it at all, but it's a great movie.
Spoil away.
But this kid pretty much his Malawi, Africa, beautiful spot. You guys should look it up because it's a beautiful spot in the world. His country was going through a drought, and his local village, they ran out of water to water their crops. And this kid, this is based on a true story, actually foraged for trash in the local dumpster or dump area, and it ended up creating a windmill and finding a broken water pump and pumping water out of the dried up well, and watering the plants and saving his family's crop by building a windmill out of trash that pumped water, or
Jeez.
a water pump that was
Yeah.
powered by a windmill out of trash.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so in the future, like, as long as they had the basic motor, like electronic components, like a motor and whatever, you could print the little, like the the flywheel or whatever, the flywheel or like the water pump housing, like all the different little components, you could probably print them on a $300 machine, and you could print 100 of them. So then every family could have one, right?
Yeah.
So that type of stuff excites me. We don't know what people are going to create. And I think there's a lot of products that have never been created before that 3D printing will enable, like the titanium plate or
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
things like
Before
that.
we started, Tim and I were like, oh, imagine when medical devices are being 3D printed.
Oh yeah, I mean
But
that's
they're
gonna
already
be
doing it.
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's wild.
right.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest categories that I think in the short term that's going to have probably the most enterprise value.
Mm.
That I think promotional products category, like you go to a convention, every product that you see laying on the table is just so boring and dead. Like I think right now you have the ability to print whatever object you want. Like for example, like this is one of our venture funds that accepted us or
Oh,
that
wow.
we're a part of.
Yeah.
And this is like a little robot that they give you. And like this is so much more memorable. Like you could embed this with electronics, like a little NFC chip or something, and tap it and it pulls up a digital link. Like this is a much more compelling promotional product than anything. And I know that's like on the lower end of the economic value that's going to be created with 3D printing. But I think it's like for the hobbyist and everyday person, like this is a great place to start. And then you can starting to understand like, oh, wait, you can do medical devices. You can do like create these things that we've never been able to create before. Or like, for example, like with relativity space, you can 3D print an orbital rocket or 85% 3D print an orbital rocket with 100 times fewer parts.
Wow.
So like relativity space, they actually
Wow.
just made it to orbit. The first 3D printed rocket, Terran 1, they 3D print the entire, pretty much this whole part,
Mhm.
they 3D print. And what's
Wow.
crazy is it's like 60 feet tall, and during the 3D printing process, it kind of sometimes warps a little bit. So they've actually built a software like that predicts how much it's going to warp, and it flattens it out. And it's so accurate. Literally, it's the world's largest 3D printer that prints this thing. It's like 20 feet in diameter. It's massive, massive rocket, and might be even more than 20 feet actually. But it's literally the amount of variation along the whole rocket is less than a human hair. So that's how straight it is. And it's only 5% heavier than a traditional manufactured rocket. And it takes 2 months to print instead of years to manufacture. So
Insane.
Oh my gosh, that's such a
it's
cool
That's
example.
insane.
yeah, and like 3D printed, like I was hanging out with some kid the other day and he was wearing Adidas's 4D shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and the midsole on them is 3D printed, because it's like so it's crazy.
So
Like
cool.
it's starting to pop up more.
Yeah. Dude, that's fantastic.
Is there a certain, like, in your experience with your business so far, is there, I know you probably learned a lot of different use cases. Do you see like a common ideal type of customer that your software has resonated with the most, or one that's been more successful for you, or any like target niches within like your customer base that you're trying to help?
I think the person that needs our software the most are the people that have a 3D print farm. So
Yeah.
what a 3D print farm is like what we have, right? So we have 10, 12 3D printers just sitting here, right? Well, right now they're working, but so they're not just sitting here. But people, like, if you had to get as narrow as possible, that's the narrowest description of like the
Yeah.
people that need our software. Generally, are getting a little more broad, like manufacturers, right? So more and more manufacturers will need our product. So if you're doing like a lot of custom fabrication work, or like you do a lot of CNC stuff, you would probably want to use our product. Like you would probably want to use 3D printing to create like a little test fit before you start doing like the machining on expensive metals.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say manufacturers, but also, I'm really interested in people creating businesses. Like people now can create products that were never able to before, like actual physical products without minimum order quantities. So
Mm-hmm.
like that's really exciting to me. Like, and God knows how many businesses are out there. And like I remember I saw like, so the e-commerce bit is really exciting because that's like real people. Like they can,
Yeah.
some random girl that watches a lot of anime can be like, oh my God, if I made a desk organizer in the shape of a panda, like this could do numbers online. And
Yeah.
that's a real example. Like there's one girl that started 100 printer farm. She has 100 3D printers now. She started with 2. And she just recognized this opportunity and started selling shit on Etsy. And now she's doing 7 figures a year selling desk organizers on Etsy.
I love
And
it.
like imagine
Love
the
it.
the model rockets example. Like this could do millions online every year.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I saw some e-commerce store that's literally just mini katanas. All they sell is mini katanas. That's it. And they do 100 million a year
Oh
in
my
sales.
God, dude. People are
So
violent.
I know. So if you, the potential is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But I guess getting back to your question, the people that really need our software, the 3D print farm owners,
Yeah.
um, and more, down the road, we'll solve, we'll make things easier to use, in more than just like a, control and manage type of way.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get more into like something that really interests me is like generative design. We're not close to that yet. Or we're pretty close, but we're not at the point where it's like deployable and commercially viable yet. But that's something that really interests me. Like when you can like say, hey, I want a tiger holding a banana, and it generates the 3D printable model, right? Like so the model has to be, not only is it a 3D visual model, but like it has to be printable. Once it can do that, like, oh my God, there's going to be,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest time suck for people and the biggest barrier to entry right now to actually manifesting these physical objects. So bridging that gap is going to be truly, it's going to be a Cambrian explosion of like products. And now
Yeah.
every single micro community can launch products that, vibe with their community. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it can all be manufactured on demand. So
What?
yeah, and
Sorry, go
and
ahead.
to kind of finish up, so like you could, just like another thing, so like 3D printing may not be the best thing for mass production for some products, but you could start like the first 10,000 units, you could validate the product with 3D printing
Mm-hmm.
and then move on. So there's going to be a lot of new products created and
Yeah.
validated, and then they move on to traditional manufacturing because they've found a market.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Didn't think about that.
So many applications, dude. That's
It's
just, I didn't know.
mind-boggling.
This is why this is so awesome. Like why this podcast is cool, because I sure didn't know this much about 3D printing. I knew it was out there, but
Mhm.
now I'm gonna give it so much more time and focus because of our conversation. Like,
Mhm.
damn.
Well, one of the things that like an opportunity that I see for like business people, like people out there creating, like if you want to start like a service-based business, so like printing as a service is one thing. So, buy some printers, make some flyers and start saying, hey, we'll print as a service. Like you have a
Yeah.
file, we'll print it for you. So like printing as a service. But one thing that I think is really going to be big over the next few years is scanning. So 3D scanning parts and then printing them. If you can get that process down, like where you can take like, for example, like somebody just brought in a Land Cruiser hubcap. So the hubcap is like $80 and it's just like a piece of plastic. And I can print a carbon fiber. I can take a scan of it and print a carbon fiber nylon one for $7
Wow.
and do
Such better
whatever the
quality.
hell. Yeah, better quality, maybe looks cooler. It's not like, the right from the OEM, but you could do whatever material, whatever, like logo you want on there, and it costs $7
Yeah.
just for the material costs and like machine costs. So I think 3D scanning is going to be huge because like again, like the Toyota hubcap, that could be a 5-figure a year product on an e-commerce store.
Mhm.
So the whole right to repair movement, like vintage cars, like parts that you can't order anymore, like
Mhm.
like the hatch lid to your jet ski, like that was another example. Like my friend, I lost the dry hatch lid on his jet ski, and it took a year to get the new one in. But I
Wow.
could have like looked up the specs for it online and just like modeled it up and printed a new one.
Wow.
So like those little and then I saw some kid the other day that he had a cat litter box, and like one of those automatic cat litter boxes, and like one of the grates on it like broke off, and it's like apparently a really common defect, and he ended up making like 12,000 in the first year just selling this one replacement part for one automated cat litter box, one
Yeah.
type of automated cat litter box. And you're like, there's no money there, but there's more than 10,000. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
businesses to be created. I think the thing that creates the most value is the 3D scanning and then printing, because if you're just the printing as a service, people will probably just come to you with one-off stuff. But if you like scan things and you're creating models that didn't exist, now that's something that could be printed a lot of times.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because it like somebody wanted they went through that barrier to entry to like scan it, clean up the model, do all that shit to get it
Mhm.
to where it's actually printable. So I think
Mhm.
3D scanning and printing could be a really
Yeah.
fascinating
Yeah.
thing.
The more skills you learn, the more valuable you are.
Yeah.
Exactly. So buy scanners and buy a 3D printer, buy a 3D scanner and 3D printer, and then just
Tend to
start
your
tinkering
schedule.
with it. Yeah, 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 and devote a shitload of time to learning how they work. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carter, what are some of the fears with 3D printing? Like we've heard Elon Musk talk about the fears of AI. We could go full on iRobot, Will Smith style one day, but are there similar fears within 3D printing?
um, so I mean, like the obvious one to me, and this is something that we don't do at all, although we've gotten a lot of requests, is 3D printing guns. So 3D
I
printing,
said that to him
You
before we
did.
started.
You
I was
called
like,
yeah.
that.
man, he could save my cost on
So
my gun
3D
habit.
printing guns is definitely one of the biggest attack vectors. Like,
Yeah.
like producing technology locally. That's the other side of the producing what we consume locally is, like, oh, you can print guns.
Yeah.
Um, and I, you know, right now you could buy a CNC mill and, mill out all the parts for a gun too. And it's going to be a hell of a lot better gun than
Mm,
a 3D printed one.
yeah.
But you know, actually, I don't want to get too much into the performance of 3D printed guns, but it is
Sure.
kind of startling how effective they are.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can do hundreds of rounds through some 3D printed guns, with the full thing being 3D printed. So I guess that could be huge. Like you could print guns on demand anywhere with a power source and an SD card. So that's kind of a, as long as you have bullets, it doesn't matter if you don't have a gun. Like, but again, I think with the guns though, you could like, I've seen some of those like videos online of like, you know, on the ground footage in Syria, and people make guns and makeshift shotguns out of like pipes and stuff. Like you put a nail in a pipe and then you like, you know, so I think that I don't think we're going to see a crazy uptick in like crime rates, but you know, those types of things could be the attack vector.
Sure. What
that
about
I
all the
envision.
katanas that person made? Like, are those like razor sharp still, or more like plastic edge to like, you know, how'd those shape out?
So now that wasn't a 3D printed product,
Okay.
but
Okay.
that would be, you could do the handles. You could 3D print the
Got it.
handles or like the little crest part, the little plastic, the thing that stops your hand from going up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could do that, but that was
I was
more of a
curious. Those were
demonstration of-
picking my brain.
Yeah. I saw you perk up a little.
that was a demonstration of, oh my God, you can sell anything online and do crazy numbers if you have the right marketing tactics. So
For sure.
yeah, I would say that probably, like, and you know, if you wanted to get more corollary, right, like you 3D print rockets, you could 3D print drones, and then put stuff on the drones and then have them fly into things, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want to be like seeding a bunch of ideas.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, you get what I'm saying. It's kind of interesting to think through these things. So
yeah, and you have to with a brand new industry like that has that much power and force behind it. Like you can do a lot of things with 3D printing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, as you know, and I'm learning, but yeah, I was
yeah,
curious.
I'm very much learning too. Very much still learning. So
Carter, I know we're kind of coming up on our time, and we know you're a pretty busy guy. Anything, we always ask a final question at the end with all our guests, but anything we haven't touched on that you would like to kind of share with listeners? Anything at all?
let me think for a sec.
Yeah. Part of your journey, influential person, it could be anything at all.
Journey, I would say, I mean, the big thing is I think, I mean, just a few of the things that I'm really big up on, like people just pursuing, like whatever they're really interested in or passionate about. Like something that I think a lot of times, like this has been really, I've been saying this a lot, like recently, and I think it's had a pretty good effect with people, but like 80%, like, okay, well, first, would you guys agree that America is doing pretty well? Like people that live in America compared to the rest of the world, like we're doing pretty well, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We're probably one of the best places to live, like the most wealthy nation. Okay.
Yeah.
So 80% of Americans die with less than 200,000 in assets, right? And if we look at the median home price last year, the most common home price, it was 450,000 last year. So 80% of Americans die with less than half a house is the statistic. So it's like, what are we playing for? You know?
Yeah.
Like, are you really going to trade 40 years of your life for a house? Like, if you were to flip it on the other hand, like, okay, so 80% of people that traded more than half their life have less than 200K. That's sad.
Right.
But do the opposite, like frame it the opposite way. Like, would you trade 40 years of your life for 200K? I wouldn't even trade it for 10 million. So like, that's how much that time is worth. And like, that's how much time, like you can't even assign a worth to like how much your time on this earth is worth. So it's like, I don't know. I think like the world is much more malleable than you think it is. You know, I'm just a dumb kid that loves Minecraft and like likes business stuff, and I'm fascinated by markets, and like, you know, I'm trying to do amazing things in the world, and it seems like these crazy opportunities have been presented to me by the universe, God, love, whatever you say, but like it's all because you're open, and I've taken the risk, right? Like I bet on myself.
Yeah.
And I think more people just should consider that. Like, because what are you even playing for anyway? It's like, what even, like if 80% of Americans die with less than 200,000 in assets, like what is the whole point of trading your entire life for a career or money? So
Yeah.
it's get away from this focus on money and just start thinking about like what the world needs, what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and like very lastly, what you can get paid for. And I feel like that might be the best path to making a lot of money, actually, which is kind of crazy. It's like just start with what you're interested in, and that'll be the best path to making a lot of cash.
100%. Man, such a good insight, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Such good insight.
Yeah. I mean, preaching to the choir, obviously you guys probably all know that, and I'm just some young
Never hurts
kid.
to hear it, man.
No, it's a great reminder.
Good for our listeners
for
too, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we're not, who says we're even guaranteed that the full life of an average human being? It's not always about how much time you have, but like what you do with the time that you do have. And I appreciate you echoing that throughout this conversation. And this has been good conversation. And yeah, I can tell you've got a really good head on your shoulders and you approach things the right way. And yeah, we wish all the best to you for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. You guys should definitely have Caleb on too. So
yeah, dude, yeah, we would love to. Tim, any other questions for Carter?
No, I'm good on my end. It's been good.
Okay. Carter, so we always like to know how you want to be remembered. So when it's all said and done, how would you like people to remember you?
Man, it's like the most important question. Let's see, how do I want to be remembered? I think what I want to be remembered for, so I kind of like the way, so I've got like a hierarchy. It's like faith, family, or faith, it goes like faith, relationship, family, friends, career. That's like what I care about in order in life, right? Like how could you care about your relationship if you don't have faith? How could you care about your relationship if you don't care, like, or how could you care about your family if you don't care about your relationship? All these things. So in the context of my faith, I want to be known as a man of faith, right? I want to be a good spouse. I think I want to be a good spouse. Like I want to be like I want my family to think that like I was around and like helpful. Like I want to be an inspiration for my little nephews and maybe kids one day. I want to my friends. I want them to like count on me and like be the person that they call in their time of need or like when they're trying to figure shit out. In the context of my career, I want to be known as somebody that helped, maybe not even build or create the groundbreaking innovation, but I think that I could be helpful in like distributing the information to the world and like communicating it. So I think in the context of my career, I want to be like, there's like hardcore like code engineer guy in the corner, and I like work with him to help bring it out to the world and like communicate and distribute it. So in the context of my career, I think that's what I meant to do, is communicate and help distribute these new technologies and innovations. So I guess that's the way I was able to frame it. So down from faith, I want to be known as a man of faith. I want to be there for my family and friends. And then in the context of a career, I want to best utilize my personal attributes to get more innovation out into the world. So
love it, man.
I love that.
Love it.
Cheers. Thanks for asking.
Man,
that was a good exercise.
Yeah. If there's ever anything we can help you guys with, the day you start your podcast, if you need help doing anything with that, let us know, or otherwise, I'm sure you and we're all going to keep touch still. We'll have Caleb on definitely. So we'll get in touch with him. But man, we just appreciate you and your time. Like dropped a lot of good insights here and taught us a lot, taught our listeners a lot. So going to be a good one.
Sweet, man. Thank you. And we should print something for Off the Dome. Like that way you guys
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
dude, I didn't even think about
We could
that.
do
That's a
that.
great
awesome.
idea.
Yeah.
we could do the logo. Let's do that. Let's do
Ooh,
that.
that'd be
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I like
That'd
that.
be really awesome.
Maybe like a thing of like a microphone with the logo on it or something.
Oh, like
Dude.
Snoop Dogg, he's got something on the mic that he holds. It's like
yeah.
Nux on his.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
possibilities are endless. Yeah, anything.
So
Yeah.
get my number and text me because he's
Yeah.
like, you guys are cool and like let's figure out something. Like let's
Yeah.
Yeah,
you guys
we'll
are
For
funny,
sure.
so.
definitely stay connected. But all right, man, we know you got
Sweet,
a
brother.
busy day ahead of you. Thank you again, man. Really appreciate
You
it.
guys are awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
likewise.
Later.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, brother.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers. You too.
All right.
Bye.